Hello from iFX EXPO International 2025. My name is Jeff Patterson, Head of Customer Success at Finance Magnates. I am happy to be joined here today with Kathy Lian, co-founder of BKTraders.com.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. First and foremost, how are you enjoying the event so far?
The event has been extremely well organized, and for me, it's just really nice to see the energy in the market and also to reconnect with a lot of people and a lot of providers that I haven't been able to meet in person or haven't seen in a very long time.
Fantastic. I understand you just did a panel?
Yes, I did a panel on prop trading. Prop trading is a relatively new space. They've had panels in the past few years, but I think the fact that we had standing room only is a representation of the interest that there is in this space and the explosive growth that we're seeing and how everyone wants to understand, where this growth is coming from and where the industry is headed next.
Absolutely. Well, that segues perfectly into the next few questions I'm going to ask you, so I guess I'll just dive right in. First, prop trading has certainly gained traction in recent years, obviously. How would you define the time point we are at for prop trading?
What's really interesting about the prop trading space is how quickly it has evolved, because the growth that we've seen and the upward slope that we've seen in the prop trading industry has really just been in the past 3 years. Even though prop trading as an option, the way it's structured right now, has been around for as long as 10 years. But this growth has really happened in the past 3 years. But not only has there been growth, but there's also been significant transformation. Because in this time, the prop trading industry faced a lot of challenges, such as some regulatory issues with certain firms being shut down by regulators. Also with technology, the leading technology provider pulling the plug for a lot of the prop firms. So there was a lot of challenges in this very short period of time. And the evolution that these firms had to do under the gun, essentially, has been remarkable. Some survived, many did not. And I think that we are at the stage right now where the industry in the prop model is still at its infancy, but it's also matured quite a bit, where the traders are demanding better technology, more transparency, and better execution. So I think that benefits everyone who is joining this space now, who's interested in prop trading, or the industry as a whole, because of these changes and the rapid response that these firms have had to have, that we've seen very positive transformations in the industry. So to answer your question in short, I think we're still in the infancy, but there's been a lot of maturity that's happened in the last 3 years.
Sure, it's certainly been an eventful 3 years, to say the least.
Yes.
So next, your latest book, Prop Trading Secrets, explores how traders thrive in this environment. What's one key lesson you think many new prop traders still overlook?
So there's so many things that there's a commonality on in the Prop Traders, my book. So what my book covers is basically stories of successful prop traders from all aspects of life, meaning that some of them are the prop traders in the newly funded model. Some of them have been trading their own money for decades. So it's not necessarily just focused on the new trader model. And the one commonality that I've seen is that they pick one instrument and they focus on it and they learn it well and they focus on becoming the master of that one instrument. Because a lot of times when new traders and new entrants come into this market, they may be learning how to trade for the very first time and they're being exposed to 100 different assets, 100 different instruments. And that may feel very overwhelming. And each one of them have their own merit and have their own opportunities. So rather than trying to focus on a strategy and looking for the setups in different instruments based upon the strategy, the true success stories that I've spoken to, and it's a very consistent theme, is that they pick one, it may be gold, it may be NASDAQ, and they just focus on learning the strategy and executing the strategy for that particular instrument, for that particular time frame, so that it becomes almost second nature to them. And by really getting in sync with the instrument and the time frame, that's how they become successful.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to be said about continuity and everything else.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting perspective. So top firms are constantly tweaking funding models and evaluation processes. What innovations are you seeing in how traders are selected and funded?
Well, I think, you're absolutely right that these top firms are, constantly changing their models. And a lot of that has to do with competition. I guess it has to do with competition as well as the demand for traders. And some of it is good, some of it is bad, because some of the funding models, basically satisfy the instant gratification of traders, but create challenges for the prop firms themselves. So it's really a tug of war. And I think for traders, I think not every firm has changed their funding models. And if you're looking at evaluating prop firms in general, I think it's really about the longevity and the transparency of those prop firms that should really be what these traders focus on, rather than the adaptation of the funding models and trying to be innovative. Because sometimes the innovation is only to meet demand, not necessarily in the best interest of the trader.
Interesting. So, shift focus a little bit. The My Forex Funds case dismissal was a huge moment in the prop trading industry. Do you think this signals a shift in regulatory scrutiny in the US, or is it too early to tell?
I think that the My Forex Funds case is certainly an indication that prop as an industry is on the radar for US regulators. However, there's been a lot of interesting developments specific to the US politically that could delay regulation. I mean, the regulation should be coming from the CFTC. And the CFTC usually has a large number of members and, basically decision makers, but a lot of them have left. And so they're left with only two. And so it's being rebuilt at this stage. And because of that, I think they're so focused on rebuilding the agencies that I think regulation for the prop space specifically will take longer than it normally would. Because usually, as we all said, the regulation starts with the US. And so because, of specific political issues in the US and in the current administration, it could actually delay that. So it would be interesting to see. I mean, European regulators also have their eyes on it, and we're seeing more headlines out of there. So I think, perhaps the regulation could come from abroad first before it comes from the US.
It's a pretty fair point. Yeah, these days it takes a little bit to get things done there. So
there's different priorities right now in the US.
I'd say so.
Yes.
Just one last question for you. So you've always had a broad view of the global markets, namely Forex. How do you see the current geopolitical tensions like US-China trade disputes, rate policy shifts impacting Forex volatility and the opportunities for traders?
What's really interesting is that it's almost hard to imagine that it's only been 6 months into this administration, into this 4-year administration. And there's been so much change and volatility and developments that could really, that hasn't really been shaping the markets. But what I see is that these headlines, will subside. At least I hope they'll subside. And I think that there's an attempt to have a lot of change and progress in the beginning of the term. And depending upon how the markets absorb it, depending upon how the constituencies absorb it, I believe that there will be more certainty and less volatility in the year ahead. Or at least I hope so. So to better answer your question, I think that it's very headline driven right now. But I think everyone is working towards, a resolution, working towards trade agreements, and hopefully we fast forward 12 months from now, all of that will be, resolved, and that we can focus on just the relative growth of the economies and what the central banks are doing, and focus on the true economics and the fundamentals of these countries.
Well, let's certainly hope that's the case. It's certainly, like you said, it's been a whirlwind to start the year. So 6 months seems like a long time. So.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
Well, I think that pretty much covers it. I think, the most interesting thing is what we talked about in the beginning, which is the energy in the prop trading space, and how I think, a lot of providers, brokers, other financial providers, as well as existing prop firms are watching the evolution in the industry. So while we're watching the evolution in politics and geopolitics, I think in our own space, there's also going to be a lot of change as well.
Good point. So thank you for your time and everything else. And
my pleasure.